Hi, I'm Derek Cox with Sandcastle Community Management, and welcome to this week's Boardcast. Today, we're going to talk about telecommunications and how that relates to associations. We have Frank Mambuca with M Consulting Group. Frank, how you doing?
Good, good. Thanks, Derek. Glad to be here.
All right. Why don't you introduce yourself, kind of give a little background
Sure,
of what you do and how you got here?
sure. Thanks. Again, I'm Frank Mambuca. I am from the M Consulting Group. We are a consulting firm based here in Southwest Florida, working with homeowners associations and condo associations on their telecommunications bulk agreements. I have had 35 years of experience in the telecommunications industry worldwide, building fiber optic networks across three continents. And now I am working here in Naples. I'm a full time resident of Naples for 22 years. And I am also the president of my homeowners association, so I'm very familiar with the challenges that face board members every day.
Yeah, you picked the short straw on that one.
Yeah.
As we know, being a board member is brutal. So, congratulations or condolences, whichever one it is.
Yes. Thank you.
Um, so let's start with what is bulk telecommunications? How does it relate to associations? And I've noticed over the years the agreements for these contracts are pretty wordy and sometimes hard to understand. So why don't you talk about that for now?
Sure, sure. So first off, let's define telecommunications. So telecommunications consists of television, internet services, Wi-Fi services within a home, telephone service, and then even smart home security services. So these are the four services: TV, internet, phone, and security that the providers do in telecommunications bulk agreements. So that's what telecommunications is. Now, what's a bulk agreement? So a bulk agreement is basically when an association decides to enter into an agreement with a service provider for all of the members of the association. And when you buy in bulk, you get a good discount. So bulk purchasing could be likened to shopping at Publix versus shopping at Costco. You go to Publix, you buy one bottle of ketchup for a price. You go to Costco, you buy three giant bottles of ketchup for a much lower price. And so buying in bulk is usually comes with a discount. And similarly, when an association enters into a bulk agreement with a telecommunications provider, they're going to get a lot less price. So, for example, if you have a 500 unit community, if you don't have a bulk agreement, an individual is purchasing services with the power of one. And the price would be what the price would be for buying at the economy of scale of one. When the association then negotiates on behalf of the community with 500 units, you're now buying at the economy of scale of 500. And you can see prices reduced sometimes more than 50% when you buy in bulk telecommunications. So in Southwest Florida, most of our associations are in a bulk agreement with the incumbent provider here today, which is Comcast. Oftentimes it is only for television services. Sometimes it is for both television and internet services. And so that's the kind of status of the market today. We have bulk agreements and we have TV and internet usually in those bulk agreements.
So I've noticed, obviously, there's been a change over the last few years. Telephone has been part of that in the past. People have gotten away from that. That's really not part of the package that associations are interested in. So the core services, what do you see most often? Is it just the internet? Is it internet and cable or
Mhm.
TV? Is it a combination? What do you see as the prevailing winner out there for accommodations?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so, first, let me just say that these four services, these four telecommunication services that we discussed, would be available from the providers to every owner in a community. Now, what's in the bulk would normally be television and internet services. The other services are then available on what we call a retail basis. So some services are bulk and some services are retail. So there are some people, particularly in Southwest Florida, that still enjoy having a landline telephone at home. And if they did want one, they would buy that directly on a retail basis from the provider. As not part of the bulk. So, what normally a board does when negotiating a bulk agreement is they understand what is important to the owners in their association, and then they put those services into the bulk. We have done bulks for just internet because some people say, well, television is something that everybody streams now, so we'll just do an internet service bulk because everyone wants internet. And then people buy TV on a retail basis if they want. But we have also been doing lots of television and internet bulks because the television service that these providers now provide in Southwest Florida is streaming television service. So those people that are transient and are not in Southwest Florida full time can actually take the television service with them up north and not have a TV bill up there, and then get the benefit of the pricing of the bulk contract in Southwest Florida. So let me just mention that the providers now, it's really interesting what has developed in our market. There are 5, even 6 companies competing for the services of associations. Of course, the incumbent cable TV company is Comcast. The incumbent telephone company is CenturyLink. Those are 2 of the competitors. And then there's Hotwire Communication, Bluestream Fiber, and Summit Broadband. They are all competitors that build state-of-the-art fiber optic cable networks to the communities. And then finally, DirecTV Stream, DirecTV over the internet, not via satellite dish, is also doing bulk packages for just television service. So there are several competitors out there now, which is driving down pricing and increasing service quality and reliability.
So that you just mentioned something that I didn't even think about. If it's streaming TV, they can just take that with them. Kind of blew my mind on that one. I didn't even think about
Yeah,
that.
and
So that can save them costs even up north for the package they get as part of the association down
right.
here.
When it was just basic cable TV, you set top boxes and you have a coaxial cable in the home. People were saying, well, we're kind of getting away from that. We'll bulk just the internet. But then the providers, particularly companies like Hotwire, Bluestream, and Summit, came out and said, we are going to provide streaming TV not only via wireless set-top boxes that connect via the internet, but also via an app. So there's an app that these providers have that you can put on your phone or your tablet. In some cases, you can put it on your Fire Stick or your smart TV. And when you go up north, you just use the app to access the television. And then, of course, there's DirecTV Stream, which will provide you with set-top boxes and remote controls that they would tell you when you go up north, put them in your suitcase and reinstall them up north and use them up there just like you use them down here, because DirecTV Stream is a national provider. So there's lots of opportunities, lots of options, and it is complicated, which is why my firm, as a consulting company, what we do is look to take this complicated environment and make it much more simple for the association boards.
The normal process that a board would take obviously changes if you get involved. First, why don't you talk about what the normal process
Sure.
is, and then what a company like yours can bring to the table, and the benefits of going with a company like yours.
Absolutely. So I think the first thing a board needs to do is understand if their community is currently in a bulk agreement. And to do that, you just look at your budget. Usually the telecommunications services will be the highest line item on your budget. And so if you're in a bulk today, get the copy of the contract of that bulk and determine when it expires. These bulk agreements usually last 10 years. So if you're in an agreement, you might be anywhere within that 10-year window. When you're about 2 years out from the end of the contract, it's good to start this process. And what we do at the M Consulting Group to assist the board is a very sophisticated 9-step process to take that burden away from the board or the committee that they might create for this project. First thing we do is a survey of the community. So we will survey the community online and get a bunch of data from the community regarding their wants and needs around telecommunications. What do they purchase today? What do they want to see in the future, et cetera. Based upon the detail that we get from that survey, we then create an RFP, a request for proposal. We review that RFP with the board members to make sure it has everything they want in it. We customize it to the community we're working with. And then we go out and solicit proposals from the 5 or even 6 providers if we include DirecTV Stream. And get all those proposals from them. And we kind of run a process where we do Q&A, et cetera, with them so they understand exactly what the community requires. And then we take those proposals and put them into a side-by-side comparison report, trying to get it to be apples to apples as best we can, although the providers have very different proposal types. And then we review that with the board, and they could narrow down their choice to 1 or 2, even 3, and then we run a meeting where each of the providers will come in and present their proposal, their services, their company to the board. Once the board then decides, okay, we want to go with this provider, we get involved with the contract negotiation. These contracts are 10 years in length because there's a bunch of money to be spent by the provider. They are going to build a new state-of-the-art fiber optic cable network to the community, through the community, and into every single unit in the home. The internet service will become much faster, much more reliable, and would really be something that in this new environment we work in today, which everyone works from home, people want to have that capability from their internet provider. So we'll start negotiating that contract. We will get things in that contract that that the association may not have thought of, things like technology clauses, future proofing, internet speed increases, et cetera, that will help the community throughout the life of the contract. Once the contract is signed, our team helps project manage the construction and the installation of the services that are all part of the implementation plan. So it's a very sophisticated process we run. As a board member myself, I know that this is something that I think requires subject matter expertise. It is certainly usually the highest line item in the budget is on an annual basis for the association. So that's what we do in assisting with this process. And I do believe that the benefits to the owners are reduced cost in buying in bulk, updated infrastructure with a brand new fiber optic cable network, and much better services that are state of the art with contract terms that keep everyone up to date as we go forward throughout the life of the contract.
I've noticed within the contract, and I have been a practicing CAM. Right now, obviously, I'm in a different role. But it seems to me that at the end of these 10-year contracts, there's this small window where an association can terminate the contract after expiration and go with a different provider. Now, maybe I'm a little biased, but it sure seems that they give you a sliver. Well, you've got 30 minutes to terminate on the 46th day. And I know that's actually caught some associations off guard. What is the truth to that? Because that sure is how my perception was.
Yes. So I've seen contracts from all 6 of the companies that I mentioned previously. As a matter of fact, we're proud at our consulting company that we have actually done contracts for associations with all of the providers. We are unbiased as to what provider that is the right match for the association. So we've done contracts with all of them, so I've seen all of them. And the termination clause in the contract basically says that if you don't want this contract to auto-renew for another year, in some cases, some of the providers put 2 years, then you need to send us a formal notice of termination. And that is normally within 30 days of the last day of the agreement. In some cases, they say 60 days. So if you suddenly find out 2 weeks before, hey, I don't want to renew this contract, you're too late. But I would tell you, as a board member myself, I think it's important to know if you're in one of these agreements and to start the process of either renegotiating with the current provider if you like them, or running a process to see what opportunities are out there if you don't like your current provider, a good year or two before the end of the contract. Because if you switch providers, it's a several-month process to have a new infrastructure placed in the community. So yes, right. There is usually a month or 2 months before you can terminate the contract.
So it's not 30 minutes.
No.
Okay. Again, maybe that was just my skewed perception.
Yes.
Obviously there's a cost to this.
Mm-hmm.
A company like yourself or any other of your competitors, what's the general cost? I'm assuming there is a savings that pretty much offsets that, but what is the cost of a service like this?
Yeah, so let me answer that question 2 ways. One is relative to the cost from the provider for their services to the community. And so I have seen bulks of both internet and TV service where on a retail basis, the package that is being purchased would be about $200 to $250 a month. And in a bulk basis, I have seen it purchased for as low as $75 or $80 a month. So there's a tremendous savings in what you can pay to a provider for a bulk package of services from what it would cost on a retail basis. Then the second piece to answer your question is, what does it cost to hire a consultant like my firm to assist in this process? And what is interesting is that the way that the industry has developed here in Southwest Florida is we are actually compensated out of the cost of sales that the providers have, rather than you as an association board having to deal, or the property manager having to deal with 5 different or 6 different salespeople from the providers. You deal with us and we deal with them, and we are actually compensated via the commission plans from the providers. So we come at no cost to the association. So we always find it interesting when we negotiate. Many of the providers, the association board say, "Is that possible?" So yeah, it's just how this has developed, and so we are very well known inside all of the 6 providers that I've already mentioned. I have contacts at the high level, if not the CEO level, in all of those companies. We work very well with them, and we have been compensated by them in working with boards that have chosen those providers to be their new bulk provider.
So essentially, for those that have been in business quite a while, you're similar to a manufacturer's rep.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Time frame. How long does it usually take from beginning to end for a board to reach out to you and then get a contract signed, investigate all the different options? What's that time frame usually look like?
Yeah, good question. So I'll talk in some general terms. As I said previously, I think it's always good to start this process a year before your current agreement terminates. We've done it sometimes in shorter time frame, and then we've been lucky to get connected with boards that do it in a much earlier time frame. But I would tell you that for us, we like to get involved, do an analysis of the current agreement, and provide some general update and information to the board, and some communications throughout all the owners of the community up front. I would say that whole upfront little part of the process takes at least 2 weeks. Then we move into the survey, where we survey the whole association, as well as provide a report of the results of that survey. That's another 30-day process. So now we're at 6 weeks. Then we start the RFP process. And the RFP process, where we put together a document and then work with the providers to get their proposals, I would say that's another 6-week process. So now we're at 3 months before we're sitting down and really looking hard at what the providers are offering, and then negotiating that. And so that's another month-long process generally. So now we're at 5 months. And then we do the contract negotiation with, depending on the association's attorney, because once we do the review, we still always have the association's attorney look at it. That could take 2 weeks to a month, but just generally, let's say that's another month. And then finally, the construction. And if we had to build out a whole new fiber network and do the installs, that could be 2 months to 3 months. And then the installation normally would take 2 weeks to 3 weeks, depending on the size of the community. So when you add all that up, it really comes out to about 9 months. We like to say, if you're starting this process with 12 months before your contract terminates, that gives you plenty of cushion to get it done. But overall, the providers, if they were here, if you were talking to the construction managers of the provider who has to do all that hard work in the field, they would tell you it's a good 9 to 12 months before your contract terminates to get everything done in a really relaxed, methodical way.
So what I'm going to do, Frank, and I think I told you when we first talked, I'm kind of excited about this whole conversation because I get asked this quite a bit, and you've given me more information than I learned on the streets, as it were, over the years. This is extremely helpful. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, what I'll do is anybody can message me or email me, and I'll give out Frank's information. If you have any questions, again, Frank knows his stuff. I've been in this business for quite a while, and this is one of the more complex items to deal with as a board member. This is not like just picking a plumber or an electrician. There's a lot of money involved, and it's quite the process. These contracts can be very complicated. So I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else that you want to let everybody know?
Yeah, Derek, I would just end with, I'm a board member myself. I know the challenges that board members face every day. As you mentioned early on, it is somewhat of a thankless job. But I have 35 years experience in telecom. I'm a full-time resident in the telecom marketplace in Southwest Florida for 22 years. And I just like to say, let our knowledge and expertise become your community's newest asset.
Great. Well, Frank, again, thank you very much. And we'll see if anybody has any follow-up questions, and I'll be sure to forward them to you.
Thank you. Take care, Derek.
All right. Take
Bye.
care.